Now, I think the biggest news that happened in the NBA was that Kyrie Irving tore his ACL against the Sacramento Kings, and there's been multiple things that have been said about this. I think his load, of course, since Luka has gotten traded, has skyrocketed. But it was just a freak injury. He finished off his free throws, and I think this kind of puts the Mavericks in a tumultuous place because Daniel Gafford's hurt, Derek Lively's hurt, Anthony Davis is hurt. They're probably going to shut him down for the season. And now Kyrie Irving tore his ACL, and he has a player option. So now his Mavericks future is also uncertain. It feels like the worst possible scenario that could have happened to the Dallas Mavericks ended up happening to them.
Yeah, I mean,
One
it
of the
feels like they're
crazy.
cursed.
I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were locked in right now. It feels like they're cursed, man. Like Mavericks fans have said this from the jump. Really, the whole NBA landscape has said, "How do you trade Luka Doncic?" And we don't have to go into that conversation. But when you make such a boneheaded move, such a stupid move, I don't want to say. First of all, prayers to Kyrie. Right, this is somebody who is, one of the most influential players in today's NBA. When you think about all of the young prospects coming up, especially guards, Kyrie is probably right up there with Steph Curry in terms of players that these young guys model their games after, and he's just such a legend in the game. So hopefully he can recover quickly. Hopefully he get back to the same player he was. Because I mean, this is a guy that's 32 years old. That is a smaller guard coming off a major injury. So what we saw him because he was playing at an all NBA level this season, right? With the load he was taking on, especially since Luka got moved. So obviously, first and foremost, praying that Kyrie could get back to what he was this past season. But for Dallas, man, it really does feel like when it goes bad, it goes terrible. Like this is not just trading Luka Doncic. This is ever since you have traded Luka Doncic, everything has fucking gone to shit. I mean, Quentin Grimes had a game where he dropped fucking 40 points, and Quentin Grimes is playing good for you, right? Like you've had injuries to everyone that we've mentioned, Anthony Davis, Gafford, now, of course, Kyrie Irving, but even fucking Caleb Martin, who they traded for, is also banged up. Like every single move that they have made, or every single important player, to even mention Derek Lively, has gone injured this year. And I really do feel bad for Mavericks fans. And if you want to go be a fan of another team, I think you have every right to do that, because what they're experiencing right now is something that I don't think any fan base should really be going through. And it reminds me of, shout out to the baseball fans out there, the curse of the Bambino. When Babe Ruth got moved from the Red Sox to the Yankees, who goes down as the best player in MLB history for basically the last 100 years, and he goes to the biggest rival, even though Lakers and Mavericks probably aren't that level, but you just don't give away a guy of that caliber, because then the Red Sox didn't win a damn World Series for 100 years, and they finally broke the curse. But that's what it feels like if you're a Mavericks fan. That's what it feels like for me on the outside looking in. And the future of this team is up in the air, man. I think the future of Jason Kidd, the future of Kyrie Irving, the future of Anthony Davis, the future of them staying in Dallas, all of this is up in the air right now, and it all goes back to Trey and Luka.
Dude, W comp, because 1,000%. Me and my dad were talking about this, and immediately what he said was, this is Babe Ruth getting traded to the New York Yankees. And you saw all the results that followed after trading that for the Red Sox and how much the Yankees were able to win. Now, that usually, now if I'm going to translate that to the Los Angeles Lakers, means that we're destined to win some championships. That could be this season. Who knows? That being said, being serious about the Dallas Mavericks situation, this absolutely sucks. Kyrie Irving was having an amazing season. He was balling out. He was the lone saving grace for the Dallas Mavericks fans and just for the Dallas Mavericks organization as a whole. And now you lose Kyrie to a gut-wrenching torn ACL. Of course, prayers. Hope you're doing all right, King. Speedy recovery. Game's better when you're on the basketball court. The fact that he was able to stay in the game, shoot those 2 free throws, he truly is a gamer. He's a sportsman. The guy just cares about and loves the game of basketball. You can never question his heart for the game as well. So when you look at it from the future of the Dallas Mavericks, it definitely becomes a little bit gloomy, because Kyrie Irving, he was destined to get a max contract at the end of the season. That now becomes a question mark. Anthony Davis played 1 game, 3 quarters for the Dallas Mavericks, was all world. There's reports that he may not return for the rest of the season. You got 3 quarters, let me be fair, 3 quarters out of watching Kyrie and Anthony Davis together. It was fantastic. And since that, we've been left with nothing but terrible news for the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I think all you're left to do is tank the rest of the season. We've seen the Mavericks do that in years past when Luka was injured. They sat him basically the rest of the season so that they would get their pick. Ended up turning into Derek Lively, who has been amazing for them when he is on the court. He's a player that obviously has missed an extended period of time. You lose Gafford too. All the pieces started to fall down. And Dells, like you mentioned, the icing on the cake. Why in God's name did you trade Quinn Grimes? Trading Quinn Grimes made no sense. It was a move that did not need to be made. You said that you made this move for Anthony Davis and Max Christie for defensive purposes. That is our identity. QG is a 3-and-D wing, or a 3-and-D player, excuse me. He fits that mold exactly what you wanted. He was playing really strong basketball for you. There was no reason to move him, and now you see him playing solid basketball on the 76ers. Like, nobody was surprised. Nico Harrison has gotten constant slander, and truthfully, it'll never end, and I hope it never does. He has cursed and plagued this franchise. He should be fired yesterday, and everything that has transpired outside of Kyrie Irving, because obviously that was a freak injury, I'm putting blame on Nico Harrison.
Here we go. Listen, I think the beautiful thing about this new world we have, this new medicine, is the injury isn't going to be too crazy. I think Kyrie will be able to recover from it. I think he'll still be okay. Dallas' season is done. I think we've kind of understood that. I think with them being so banged up, dealing with injuries, it's okay to shut down AD for the season, kind of let him get that rest. I agree with you, Drew. I think trading Quentin Grimes kind of didn't make any sense. But Dallas has been in a not making sense mood for about 2 to 3 weeks now.
Bingo.
So anything they do right now isn't making sense. And now you can see that all the bad juju is starting to come their way. I mean, losing Kyrie, I think he was averaging 39.3 minutes a game over his last 3 or 4 games. They were really ramping him up. And that's also not just because of trading Luka, but AD being out. And you trading AD, he is a guy who's been injury prone throughout his career. He always gets these nagging, aggravating injuries. And Kyrie's been through the same. He's been dealing with nagging injuries throughout his season. So I think for real, you got to look at the season as a failure, as a wash for Dallas. It's unfortunate because you walked into the season. I felt like you got better in the offseason. You had a real chance to possibly repeat back to the finals or at least make it a really, really tough outing to the WCF. Even with Kyrie and AD, you had an opportunity to be a dark horse, had an opportunity to really upset a team. Now you're sitting there, you're leaving Dallas Mavericks fans in shambles, upset, head down, because now Kyrie's out for the season, probably out till about December-ish of next season. AD's probably going to get shut down. And now you have just a couple guys who, they rely on the star power. They rely on the star players to get them going, get them ramped up. Clay came here to play with star players. You traded Luka. You know what I'm saying? Like, Najee Marshall probably came here for Luka and the Kyrie pair. He did not come here for this. So it's a tough situation. Like you mentioned, Drew, like you mentioned, Joel, it sucks for Kyrie. He was having a career year. Like, this was probably going to be one of his best seasons of his career this late in his career. He was one of the best point guards in the league, averaged north of 23 points a game. He was astoundingly proficient. He was doing his thing, and you just unfortunately lose all that. And, going into a contract year, I don't think he's going to leave. I think they'll offer him some good money, and being as if he's coming off an injury, he'll probably take that money and just stay. But it does suck for Dallas Mavericks fans, and they've done nothing for me. So I genuinely feel bad for him because I feel like this was a team that could have, another great team in the West that we could have had that could have made a playoff series elite.
Yeah, there's just no way that somebody can convince me that politics haven't played a major role in the Mavericks' downfall and trading Lucas specifically. I think that the new ownership has had a clear agenda that they're trying to get off right now. There was already a report that said they're going to raise ticket prices next year. I think they're trying to tank the franchise's value. So it'll make it easier to relocate or try to push the city into doing what they want, which is creating casinos in the arenas.
I'm not trying to get into any back and forth on this. If that's the case, that is truly the most embarrassing thing I've maybe ever heard in my life. How in God's name do we feel it's beneficial to be worse? As now I'm the new owner of the team, I want my team to be as dog shit as humanly possible. That is the most embarrassing, mind-numbing stuff that I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it though is that in the NBA, if an owner has a team that is bad, they are making more money because they are pocketing more money. They're making more revenue because they don't have to pay these players this exorbitant amount of money. So you're pocketing more revenue, and it doesn't matter if a team is bad or good. Every single NBA franchise's value is going to keep inflating in the next 10 years. In the next 10 years, an NBA team, regardless if they're shit or they're not, they're worth more money. And that's because the entirety of the league is continuing to grow. So you have a team like the Bobcats and then the Hornets, who their value is just increased. They have been terrible, but because the league's value is increasing, theirs increases as well. And that's why ownership matters so much in sports, because if you're stuck with a bad owner, these are the type of things that can happen. They make decisions not based off the product and the fans' enjoyment, but they make decisions for their pockets.
It's insane. The goal is to win. The goal is to hoist the Larry at the end of the season. What kind of nonsense is this?
There's some owners that just don't have like a lot of money, right? I think that's a big issue with the Bengals, just relating to the NFL. They just don't have a lot of money, so don't want to give out a lot of guaranteed money. This Mavericks ownership's got money, right? It's not an issue that they just don't have the capital to give these contracts out. They absolutely do.
Yeah, that's why I think, the Luka trade was shocking, because it just didn't make any sense, and it still doesn't make any sense. But, it is what it is at this point. There's videos on YouTube about like the conspiracy theories about what this ownership really wants to do. And it's unfortunate that Mavericks fans have been caught in this crossfire of loving a team and being attached to a team, and ownership really just not giving a shit about it and just tearing it down.
You can trade Luka. You can try and really make your team worse, but you can also still have future assets. Like, that's also a possibility. No, I just think that I think in this case, Joel, multiple things can be true. Maybe that what you're saying is true, but at the same time, you also botched a trade. You did not get maximum value for your player. You tried to make a win now move, which is why I can't allow this nonsense of, oh no, they tried to purposely make their team worse. No, I think they tried to make an all-in move in their eyes that makes zero sense. I'm not giving Nico Harrison a pass here by saying ownership wanted you to be worse. I'm not giving him that benefit of the doubt. No, he made an egregiously bad trade, and I'm not giving him an out.
If I'm Nico and I'm in there and they tell me trade, no, fire me.
I think it's just very, like, I don't know. Nico Harrison made a terrible trade, but based on his track record before he made this trade, I don't know. I just find it very hard to believe that he was this stupid about it. Maybe he was. Maybe he really wanted Anthony Davis. But I just think all the signs around how this trade happened, they didn't negotiate with anybody else. It was only the Lakers. It definitely feels like there were some forces outside of his control in play, and who knows what was there for him. But all the reporting of the Mavericks side of this after Luka was traded about just his work ethic issues, about him maybe being hesitant to re-sign in Dallas, like all of those have been proven to be untrue, and Luka very well thought he was going to be in Dallas for his entire career. I think the only thing that changed was the ownership, because even if a GM wants to make a trade, that has to get okayed by the ownership. I don't think if Mark Cuban was the majority owner, he allows Nico Harrison to make that trade. I think the Dumons allowed him to make that trade, and I think that's part of the problem too.